What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan. This is my buddy Nick. I think this is going to be the first actual video that we've posted to the channel, just because I've had some video editing errors past couple takes. So today, I kind of want to sit down and talk with you, and I know you have a good bit of experience on this topic. I know we were planning on doing investing as our topic, but there used to be a huge trend about paranormal activity, whether it's stuff related to Ouija or if it's just like random stuff you see out in the forest or cabin in the woods or whatever. But just in general, paranormal activity in general.
I'd like to start off with a disclaimer of anyone who's ever interested in this. I just want to say, before you do anything when it comes to paranormal, make sure you know what you're doing. You have to. Because, well, for the most part, most paranormal stuff won't kill you, but there are things out there that can and will kill you. And you just got to be vigilant of that. You know, it's like with the whole Ouija board thing, you got to always say goodbye, before you close the game.
Of course.
Because if you don't...
it's a portal to another world. Yeah. So you can let things in.
Without realizing.
Spirits, demons, good or bad.
You don't know what's there, so you don't know who you're talking to and what you're, who you're dealing with is the problem. And it really depends on where you're at and what you're doing and who you're doing it with.
Exactly. You want to be doing it with somebody that doesn't have, and I wouldn't say in general like a bad background, like with family or friends, just like somebody who's not clinically depressed, suicidal, any of that
negative,
and you want to be with somebody who is negative because you will attract negative entities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you do not want.
And I've had my fair share of experience with said entities. Luckily, none of them have been very powerful, but they're still enough to notice.
Well, they're enough to, depending on what type of entity it is, they can move stuff around, they can, just fuck with you in every possible way just because they can have the power to.
And what's worse is that if you're not careful, they can actually, they can basically invade your life and ruin it if you're not careful. They can get into your head. If you're vigilant enough, you can even feel it happening.
Right. And they can also, like how in sometimes, the movies that they come out with where somebody's being possessed, that's true.
That's a real thing.
That's real shit. And there's people out there that say they don't believe in it. I believe in a religion. We both go to church.
Of course.
We know this. But I still believe in that other side.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's proven.
I will say... Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something, man?
No,
okay. But I will say this about paranormal and the other side. If you don't believe it and you don't have an open mind when you're trying to explore the paranormal, at least, or just research it and stuff, nothing will happen to you.
If you try to play, for example, Ouija, and you don't believe in it, or you don't have positive, a positive outlook on the game itself, or just in general, like in your mind, you're not thinking good thoughts, you're not believing in that other dimension.
They'll never show themselves to you. Or, on the flip side, if it's powerful enough, it will attempt to screw with you.
Just because of the fact that you say, or you think that you don't believe in it, or it's not true, or, whatever else it might be.
Yeah, to them it's disrespect. It's like, it's like going into a room, someone says something 100% truthful, and then you don't believe them.
It's the same thing, but they can fuck with you real hard.
Oh, yeah, like I'll talk from my own personal experience. I have a buddy. He has 3 or 4 entities that follow him around, and he's known this for years. It's been following him since childhood. He suspects that it's a heritage thing, a family heritage thing, where it follows through the family. Stalker demons are a real thing. Feel free to look it up. If you guys don't believe me, hey, that's all right. I get that. I kind of envy that.
We'll link description, or we'll link links in the description. Gee, that's a tongue twister.
But for instance, he's got 3 of these things following him. The other night, I had him and my buddy over. We're just chilling, talking. My one buddy who has him following him, he was thinking about some, stressful things, and it made him feel a certain way. And immediately after I saw the look on his face change, I started noticing things in the room. So did my other buddy. Cold spots. Stuff started moving, like just subtly, like a drink like this would like be right here, and it would all of a sudden be like way over here, like in front of us, and we're like, oh. I could hear something, jiggle the door a little bit. I mean,
or even a little
yeah,
creak. Just the little things.
Oh, it gets better. My one buddy, he could literally feel one of them trying to latch onto his mind. The way to tell if something's trying to latch onto you is you immediately feel negative. You feel cold and scared.
There's fear,
panic.
I mean, you have a train of thoughts, just negativity, just right out of the gate. I mean, just sad, like no anger, but just like sad emotions. Yeah, depressing emotions. You're thinking about just whether it be stuff in in your past or just in general, just your emotions are just sad. Instead of going blank or happy, you're just sad, depressed. Just.
And they feed off that. My buddy could feel it trying to feed on him. See, that's what they do. They'll try to get into your head. They'll either try to possess you or they'll feed on you. So in that case, the thing was trying to feed on him. You could feel it. He's like, I can feel the panic rising in my chest. Obviously I'm not thinking about it. He was saying I wasn't thinking about anything negative at the time. I just felt it trying to latch on. The thing is if you're not, I guess, I wouldn't say like religious enough or vigilant enough to know how to protect yourself, I mean, that thing could get into your head and ruin your life. I mean, forever. I mean, it'll make you act impulsively, very angrily towards people, negatively, everything. Like, your whole mindset shifts when, one of these things starts screwing with you. And I just want to warn you guys, I mean, it is very interesting. I mean, because, heck, it's cool. I mean, you get to talk to literally people who are dead, or aren't physically next to you or near you.
That's what we should do. Cool. We should do a segment where we should have a voice recorder, and then just sit and talk. Without a board, without any of the
an EV,
rituals
right?
or anything. Just a voice recorder. Sit down. A couple white lights. White candles. If you have it, blessed water, holy water, crosses.
Crucifix.
Mm-hmm. And we should just see what happens.
Yeah.
Record it, play it back.
Yeah, let us know down in the comments, guys, if you think we should do that. We'll definitely do that if you want.
Because we've had an experience with using a board, and we did it correctly. And we had more than 2 people, and we had a white-ish light. We had low lighting. We said goodbye and all that kind of stuff. We did it by the book as best we could.
And we did, at least I experienced things. I could definitely sense things were in the room. I remember at one point when we were using the board, we had like 4 or 5 things just surrounding us. Like I remember one point I could feel something almost like touch my shoulder. I felt like a cold hand kind of.
And there was one between us.
Mm-hmm.
There was one sitting next to me, and then there was one in that corner. That not in this room, but downstairs.
I mean, it's very interesting. It's very eye-opening, I will admit, especially when you first, it's your first true experience, and you're like, whoa, I've never experienced that before. It's very scary, I'll admit, very eye-opening.
You might get scared straight.
Yeah.
The first time that you see it, you might get scared straight and never want to do it again. But if that's enough proof for you, if that's, enough to justify whether you believe it's true or not.
Hey, I mean, that it is what it is at that point, but I mean, you just got to be respectful about it and careful. As long as you're smart and you know what you're doing, you'll have a great experience, whether it's using a Ouija board, doing some weird ritual or something, or, I mean, hey, if you just go to a haunted place, you act very reverent and respectful. For the most part, they'll leave you alone. I mean, we've all seen the movies like Paranormal Activity where it's like some screwed up poltergeist trying to possess the mom or something.
Conjuring.
Oh, my bad, I was talking about Conjuring, but...
Yeah, no.
But, I mean, you can have those experiences too, but for the most part, as long as you're reverent, especially if you don't have a lot of negativity in your heart, you'll be fine for the most part. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you don't want to ask the wrong questions.
Exactly.
If you ask the wrong questions, whether it be giving information about friends, family, locations, or even asking questions about, or just asking questions where you're sounding like you're scared or you're sad will have them, they'll try to latch on, but they'll
It'll have a negative effect.
They'll know.
Mm-hmm. And what's even scarier is if you ask, like I always tell people, there are certain locks that should not be unlocked. Same thing with asking questions to, these spirits and stuff like that. You ask the wrong question, you will get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be the answer you want, it may not be the answer you might not like it, but you will get an answer regardless.
And that's what
the
you
scary
really,
part.
yeah, that's what you really want to look out for. Because if you ask a question that you're very, very curious about, but you know you don't want to find out what the answer is, don't ask it at all. Because you definitely will not like that answer.
And a lot of times they'll even use you asking questions to manipulate. Like, people forget that. I mean, some of these spirits were human. They know how to manipulate people to get them to doing what they want. I mean, some of them want to be human again. Some of them want to feed. Some of them are just leftover negative energy from whatever happened. I mean, there's numerous reasons why you could be experiencing something in the paranormal. I mean, haunted woods. I mean, I've been in a fair share of cemeteries after dark. I mean, I've seen stuff. I could hear stuff. Oh, it's really creepy. You always feel like you're being watched. Even in like the daytime.
Daytime, or like a summer night where it's still kind of warm, or like not hot, but like, I don't know, like 60-ish on a summer night.
Yeah, like a good 50,
where it's
60.
There's no breeze and it's not cold.
You can
get a cold feeling.
Like, it could feel like it's 30 degrees in there. I mean, like, literally, like, I mean, your hairs can stand up.
It won't drop dramatically. It'll be instant.
Yeah, it's not like...
For the most part.
It's not... Well, I mean, when you notice, like, an aberration and you can't see it, but you can feel he's there or she's there, you'll you'll definitely... If you're sensitive enough, you'll notice it in the room immediately, because you'll notice the energy of the room just like that change. Because, it's not something
Or you would kind of feel like a little... like
tingle.
Breeze or tingle on your neck, your shoulders, or just the little things.
I can't really explain how I'm able to, like, figure out if there's something in the room. Like, I can tell, like, right now that there's something outside. I can feel it. It's not bothering us, but I can tell it's out there. But...
So you get that instinct that somebody's looking at you or watching you, or they know that something's going on.
It's a feeling that you can't really... It's something you can't really learn by someone explaining to you. You have to figure it out.
I mean, you'd have to have experiences to be able to, multiple experiences where you are able to pinpoint, sometimes of how things are happening, how something would come into a room, all that kind of shit.
But going on the story I was telling you guys earlier about my buddies, it got so bad that I was having them leave because they're like, we should probably go. I mean, if there's something here, we don't want, anything latching onto your home or your family and, screwing with you. They left. Before they left, I could tell, like, I was downstairs in my house by my dining room, which is by my front door. And in the corner of the room, all three of us could make out a figure, like eyes, like yellow, beady eyes in the dark.
That's a demon.
Oh, it was.
Well,
I can tell because when I charged him, because I tried banishing him, I charged him because I was trying to scare him. He was skittish of me. He was afraid of me. I could feel him bolt off into my kitchen, and I could see him come back. I can just see those barely, faintly, those yellow eyes come back. And we could fairly make out an outline of some humanoid figure. My one buddy, he could see it clear as day. He's like, oh my God. He was scared. I've never seen my friend as scared as that day. It looked, he was like, yeah, it looked like I was staring into, hell, or almost the way he described it. I mean, that's obviously an example of a bad experience. I mean, I'll admit a lot of teenagers, they'll go into cemeteries for the thrill. I mean, there is a thrill in feeling something that isn't there. It's there, but you can't see it.
Right.
There's nothing to grab and touch.
It's always what's the word? It's not like you have to just... I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Because you were saying, like, it's like you have to do it because you have to know if it's there or not.
I mean, you don't have to do that necessarily. Like, I mean...
No, you got that urge. You got that urge to be like, okay.
The thrill, yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there is a thrill behind it. I mean, that's why you see demonology people and demon hunters and just people that investigate the paranormal. I mean, there is a thrill in trying to figure out something that really isn't, I guess, meant to be understood by us. I mean, it's so elaborate. I mean, you can't really understand everything on it. I mean, you're only limited by what you can see and touch. That's the unfortunate thing of humanity. I mean, we're limited by what we can see and touch.
That's pretty much all of it.
Yeah, but I
with,
will.
with seeing everything.
Mm-hmm.
But like a few seconds ago, so you know how like noticing something's in the room or watching or something, if you get like that chill, like that brushes across your neck, because you can get that on your arms, your legs, your back. I mean, it'll just feel weird. A couple seconds ago, I had that.
I was gonna say, I was about to ask you, are you noticing a draft from the window, or is it
I'm
something
noticing
else?
it back there.
I was gonna say, I'm noticing it behind me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's over there now. I mean, we don't know what it is. It's probably, I mean, I'll admit it. I mean, this house is haunted. There is something in this house.
It's an old house.
One or two people. I mean, who knows? I mean, this could be buried on an old cemetery for all we know. I mean,
It
an old
could be an
native Potawatomi.
Indian.
Yeah, Potawatomi Indian.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
burial ground. I mean, you never know. I mean,
That's a lot of like the proven haunted areas. Besides like people bringing in demons, where an area would be on a burial ground or a cemetery, or just something catastrophic. They tore it down. They built something new.
Yeah, that's why you always got to do, I mean, research and home planning before you buy a property, because you want to know the history.
Even before building a property.
Yeah, you want to know the history of the land.
What that land is on, or what was there beforehand, if there was anything there.
I mean, you know, not everyone has the luxury of building out in the middle of nowhere, Montana, where there's literally been nothing for thousands of years. I mean,
right.
But I mean, I will say this though, when it comes to the paranormal, if you guys are ever going to explore it, do not bring drugs and alcohol into it. That is the number one disrespectful thing you can do. I know a lot of people, you know, I mean, hey, it is fun to get, I guess, plastered and go into a cemetery late at night because you're disoriented and stuff. Not a good idea.
Plus, they can use it against you.
Well, exactly. They'll use your disorientation against you. I mean,
because if you're drinking, that brings depression, sadness, those kind of emotions, and they will use that straight up against you.
Or they'll use your, you know, moment of weakness while you're in that cemetery to get into your head and start screwing with what you can see.
Like, what's the first thing you think of when you walk into a cemetery, or what's the first emotion that comes in your head when you walk into a cemetery?
Immediately when I walk into one, panic, fear.
Well, okay, before your paranormal activity experience.
I always walk in with a degree of like, I mean, I can't really put it into a word for emotion, but like a reverence. You know?
Would it be like it's a respect and a remembrance of people who were there.
Who were here once.
But mainly I'm focused on sadness.
Yeah, that's your...
Like, you're walking in there, you're seeing all these graves, all these people, oh, that's sad. Boom. There's your sad emotion right there.
Well, that's why you gotta, when you kind of walk in, you gotta have a little bit of a flat plane. Or if you're like really religious, be very positive and focusing on your religion. I mean, you know, if you're Christian, focus on, you know, your Christian values. If you're not Christian, focus on whatever values you got, you know. But I will say this, at least when it comes to, you know, experiences that I've had, I've noticed that, you know, hey, to anyone who isn't Christian, you know, all the power to you, but saying the Lord's Prayer does seem to have an effect on them.
Especially, well, yeah, because you're
low level.
Yeah, you're using something that they know that's going to keep them, just like using a crucifix. It's going to push them back farther and farther and farther if they're not as strong enough to be able to.
I mean, yeah, you will get something. I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen the movies where literally you could see in The Conjuring the demon just knocking over the crucifix one after the other.
Or in Conjuring 2, where Conjuring 2, it was a family in London, in England, and just out of nowhere, backstory in a minute, this girl blanket would just fly off. It's weird. And then, you know, like the little boy would, he woke up one morning really late, went downstairs, got a glass of water, saw the swing, one out of the two swings, just, and then it stopped. Nothing.
I don't know about you. Did you sense that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad it's not just me.
And then he walked back upstairs. Walked past, you know, he had his little tent with all of his toys in it and shit, whatever. You know, kids are weird. But he would walk past that, went to his room. His toy fire truck would just Then he took it, turned it off because it was woo, 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 you know,
Yeah.
sirens. And he would roll it back in there. Then he would get to his door. There it goes again. Then he went to check it. Nothing. And then somebody, you know, whether it be a spirit or some type of entity, grabbed him in the tent. And he was coming around. And then he comes out and he goes, Mom, 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 Mom. Long story short, there's an old man in the house, which is an entity. But, and I didn't finish The Conjuring 2 yet, so I don't know the ending. But it was from one of the actors' first. Well, it's based on a true story. Lorraine. I'll just use the actor's name in the movie. Well, it's probably their real name too. Now that I think of it.
Yeah, the real person that it happened to.
But from one of their first encounters, followed her.
Yeah, it can follow you location to location. If something latches onto your soul and your spirit or even your bloodline, it will follow you through generations.
And so
you have to purge it from your life forever.
That demon followed her, forced the old man to possess the little girl. And every once in a while it would be kind of random. It'd be late at night or like early in the morning, like 2, 3 o'clock probably. And just all this catastrophic shit would just go down. And it's just, he died in the house, and it was a nun. I don't know how it was connected to where, because it was forcing him to take over the girl's body before Ed and Lorraine got there to figure shit out. And I don't know how that came to be, but that was how the old man was able to possess the girl, because he was being forced by a more powerful demon.
Yep, to do it. The scariest part about a lot of this is that, I mean, even now talking about it, we can sense things. Even, like, especially at night, because we're in, you know, nighttime right now, talking about it will, you know, really the safest time, unless you know what you're doing, to talk about this is during the day. Or at least unless you know, hey, my house is safe. Nothing's going to happen.
No, we just kind of
Yeah, whatever. I mean, we know, at least I have a semblance, I hope I have a semblance of an idea of what I'm doing. I'm not an expert. I won't even pretend to be one, but
we're just basically talking about our experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
What we noticed, what we can guide you on if
you ever want
you
to.
want to experiment or do research or
Just know.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing is that, I mean, this really freaks a lot of people out. Everyone, I've always seen The Conjuring, the Annabelle movies, and you always see the disclaimer, based on a true story. Little known fact, it actually is. I've seen
is.
the picture of a real life Annabelle doll, and I will tell you this now, you don't want to see it. I'm just gonna say this: you will never look at a Raggedy Ann doll the same.
I don't even want to picture one in my head right now.
No,
I do not. No, I don't want to see one. I don't want to touch one.
These things are so powerful that even pictures of them off like a cell phone feels unsettling.
Like yeah, even just you feel fear. You're like
looking at a picture of it. I mean, even right now, my hairs are standing up thinking about it. But I mean, just looking at a picture, I can't even imagine a video. What's even scary about that doll is there's been 3 guys. This was happened in the 70s that mocked the doll in front of it and like rubbed their junk on the glass. All died the same way: fiery car wreck, fiery motorcycle accident, and a fiery car wreck. And the other driver was never found. Middle of nowhere. No one to be found.
You should go to that road.
Yeah, no. I mean, there are certain things that you just, I mean, as long as you know what you just don't screw with.
Yeah.
I mean, certain areas that you don't go in. I mean, it's just, like I was saying before, there's certain locks that should never be unlocked. They're meant to be locked for a reason.
Well, there's certain doors that you should not open.
Nope.
No matter what the coincidence would be or consequence will be, whether it's good or bad, you don't.
I will say, I mean, I'm not trying to scare you guys, but there are some benefits to knowing about the paranormal and experiencing it. It really, especially if you're religious, it reaffirms your faith. I mean, it gives you, it opens to your eyes a little bit to the reality of the world, like going, hey, we're not really alone on our planet. I mean, per se.
And
I mean, there are other things here with us.
It gives you the ability to, depending if you can see somebody else's demons, like you were saying, or entities, you can protect them. whether it be crucifix or
like those
a
two.
prayer or whatever.
Like the couple in the Conjuring movies. I mean, I forgot their names, Lorraine and her husband. They're actual real demonologists that, went and performed. Obviously, it's dramatized for the movies, but
Right.
went and performed exorcisms and other research to help people. I mean, there is an entire section of the Catholic Church that is literally for this entire purpose. I can't imagine being a priest on that task force.
Nope, done. Sorry.
Like going into a freaking old monastery, like where the nun was. I don't know if you guys ever seen the Nun movie, but
Ooh, that's what we should watch tonight.
I've seen that movie so many times.
It's freaky.
Dude, it still freaks me out to this day.
But
it freaks me.
Besides that, if you're going to do your research,
be
safe. In a good area, be in a good time, and you want to do it during the day. I mean, if you don't want to be doing it during the day. If you're, depending on what you're doing, if you're just sitting down talking or just getting a feel.
Oh, during the day is fine.
During the day is okay, but if you're playing a certain game, that won't be mentioned. I don't even know if I want to give tips on it because it's just.
I don't even recommend. Okay, do you want me to just say the name? I mean, we'll just say a disclaimer. I mean, it's Ouija. I do not recommend anyone play this. I mean, we've even watched YouTube videos before we did it, and most of the YouTubers literally tell you, don't do it, unless you know what you're doing. And even then, you're not safe.
I mean, look up all the rules, say the right
things.
I mean, you want to do it 110%, because if you don't...
You're screwed. You could die. You literally could die. And it may not be in the sense of natural death. There are fates that are worse than actual death.
Oh, you could go clinically
insane.
It won't end.
I've seen it happen. I had a buddy of mine who had something screwing with him, and literally over the course of 10 years, I had to watch him spiral just like this until almost complete insanity. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you don't want to have to witness that. So you want to protect yourself. You want to protect the people that you're doing it with, and don't be afraid. I mean, hey, I've had to bless my house a couple of times to keep it safe. I mean, I know a lot of that some of you guys might sound like, oh, that's heebie-jeebies, or oh, that's BS. Hey, take it with a grain of salt if you want, but I will tell you this: if you open your mind to the possibility, you will see things, you will experience things, but be prepared to have that realization of going, oh my goodness, all the stuff people are saying, are true. Oh, you're gonna have to be prepared for that realization, because it
blows your fucking mind.
Because to be able to literally experience things that you can't even see or touch, that's crazy, man.
It's insane.
But you have to go in with an open mind. But like we were saying, as the drawbacks, there are benefits. You can help protect people. It gives you a greater understanding of yourself, your faith, or, whatever religion you worship, whatever God you worship. I mean, there are benefits to it. I mean, knowledge is power. There are certain things that will try to screw with humanity. I mean, we're living, they're not. I mean, it's going to happen. So being knowledgeable on that will help you be able to either A, stop it from happening to you, or stop it from happening to someone you know. And once you open your mind to that idea, you'll start to see certain things like, wow, that person's really crazy. I wonder why. Maybe it's something more than just what's going on up here. Maybe it's something that's going on around them.
Exactly.
And you'll start to notice it and sense things. You'll get a certain vibe from people, and you'll go, ooh, something's not right with that person.
Because there's
something that's screwing with them.
Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of stuff that you want to stay away from.
And those people, you go, away from me. Or
unless
you try to help them.
Exactly, unless you can do something to help them or
you want
get them away.
You want to keep them away from you. I mean, I'm not trying to say, anyone who's got mental illness or something, they needs to be secluded. No, not at all. But
that's not what we're saying.
But, if you definitely know that it's not just, hey, it's a product of his situation, there's something else going on with his head besides, hey, he had a bad childhood, so he's depressed or something. He either A, needs to go see a priest, or B needs to get away from you, unless you can help him, of course. If you can help them, help them,
But don't put yourself and family and friends in danger.
Exactly. That's the thing when it comes to paranormal and paranormal experiences.